Yo, what is up, everyone? Power BI people love to share tips. Some of them are genuinely useful. Some of them pretty clever. Some solve problems, though, that shouldn't exist in the first place. And a few of them are absolutely bananas. So I pulled together 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 Power BI tips that people swear by. And I ranked them from 11 all the way to number 1. I'm looking at how useful they are, how surprising they are, and whether I actually use them in a real Power BI project. You know how we like to do? Let's get into this. Coming in at number 11, turn off auto date time. When you add a date column to a Power BI model, Power BI automatically creates these hidden date tables behind the scenes. And for a quick report, that's fine. But once you start building a real semantic model, you want to take control of your date table. And you can see how I have this full date column in my model. If I check it, you'll see I have all of these different values: year, quarter, month, day. And if I go to booking date, you can see I have another one. If I go to guest satisfaction, I have another date. And for every one of those, if I connect to DAX Studio, and it's creating these hidden 2, 3, 4, 5 date tables for me. So how do you get rid of these? Well, there's a couple of things you can do. So if you go over to your model, the first thing you can do is create a date table, establish relationships. So you can use that central date table. That's a topic for another day. And if I right click right here, I can go to calendar options, say mark as date table, turn it on, choose my full date. And remember we had 5 before. I'm gonna click save. You see how that went away right there. See how this is a date now. And if I go back to DAX Studio, you can see I'm down to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. How do I get rid of the other ones? Let's go back to Power BI Desktop. You can do a couple of things. You can go File, Option Settings, and Options. And there's 2 locations. There's in the global, in the current file, you can do data load and data load. So on data load, I can turn off auto date time in the global. That means for every subsequent Power BI Desktop file that I open, it's not going to create those hidden date tables for you. And if I do it right here, it's going to turn it off just for this local file, this current file. So I'm going to uncheck it, click OK. And then if I go back here, they're all gone. Now, I'm going to turn it back on. You can see all my date tables are there. And so if I go here, right now, my relationship to my date table is on keys, integer values. But if I switch them up, because I actually have the dates, so if I switch this to stay date and I switch this to full date, which is my actual date, I click apply and we go back to DAX Studio, you'll see I'm down to 3. And as I continue to iterate through this, it'll get rid of all those date tables. One warning, if you already use one of these automatic date hierarchies in a visual, turning this off can break that visual. So don't just flip-flop and switch and hope for the best, right? Check it out, test, validate. And this is good hygiene. It helps to reduce clutter. It gives you one consistent date table, and it puts you in control of the intelligence. Let's see what's next. Replacing those deeply nested if statements with switch and true. I have a table here with property name. And so I have 2 measures. One, that's an if. It's pretty straightforward. If it's not in scope, if it's not at the property level, show portfolio total. But if I'm in the context of the property, if total revenue is greater than 35 million, exceptional. 25 million, strong. Greater than or equal to 15 million, moderate. Otherwise, display low. I'm going to add this to the table and you'll see it's actually telling me something. I have some properties that are strong, moderate, low, exceptional. And you can see that if I'm not in the scope, it shows portfolio total and this works. But imagine every time I add another if, I get deeper and deeper in the if. So I'm going to replace this with a switch. So much easier to write and so much easier to understand. Here's my switch, here's my true. And so if it's not in scope, show portfolio total. Otherwise, follow the same rules. And if none of these conditions meet, show low, right? So I'm going to add this and it does the exact same thing. There's one important detail here. The order matters. Switch stops at the first condition that evaluates to true. So I need to start with the highest threshold and work my way down. So let's say in my switch statement, I said, if total revenue is greater than 15 million, a property with 40 million would satisfy that condition and Power BI would return moderate. This one may not seem bananas, but once conditional logic starts growing and growing and growing, switch true makes the intent a whole lot easier to see. No DAX. DAX should not be the first answer to every problem you encounter. So take a look at my total revenue column. This works, but The business rule itself is absolutely static. The revenue is room revenue plus experience revenue plus other revenue minus discount amount. That row level calculation does not need filter context. So I can create net revenue upstream in SQL, Power Query, or the warehouse. So if I go over to my SQL server, you can see I've created a computed column that does the exact same logic. Room revenue, experience revenue, other revenue minus discount amount. And then if I go to Power Query, I can go to booking and I can go find those columns. Room revenue, this and this, and I can do some maths and say sum these two, then I can subtract that one from it. And I get the exact same result. Regardless of the approach I take, and I can do a new measure. So instead of writing that DAX, I can say total, and I know I already have one, equals sum net revenue. That's all I need to write. Measures, ratios, calculations that depend on filter context, they belong in DAX. Cleanup, static classification, and repeatable row level business rules often belong upstream. I think it's Roach's maxim or Maxim's Roachum, something like that. That distinction absolutely matters. Use Power Query parameters to move between development, test, and production. Let's go over into Power Query. So we're going to choose transform. And the first thing we're going to do is create a couple of parameters. We're going to say manage parameters, and we're going to do new. And we're going to say server name. We're going to add another one called database name. And I already have them. So the database name is North Star Public. And then the server name, we're going to go over to Management Studio. Not because I'm lazy, I'm just efficient. And I'm going to copy this, okay? And then we're going to go back over here and we're going to paste this in. And one thing I like to do is really typecast. So I'm going to say this is text and this is text. And what I'm going to do is say, okay. And then I'm going to go to view and we have to allow parameters. So you need to check that box. And then we'll go back here. We're going to go to data source settings and we're going to change this source. And so instead of hard-coded values, we're going to use parameter, server name, parameter, database name. Click OK, click close. It'll take a little bit. There we go. If we go into the advanced editor, what you'll see is server and database name. Changes it everywhere. You can go into each one. And if you take a look at the first step in the code, you'll notice that it's server and database name. Now, the query is not tied to one environment. When I need to move from development to test or production, I change the parameter value instead of rewriting the entire query. This is not something that every report needs, but once you are working across multiple environments, hard-coded connection information gets old really fast. When I'm developing my Power BI semantic models, I don't want every row from a very large table. I may only need enough to build a transformation, validate the model, and make sure everything works. So what I do is I'm going to create a couple of parameters. I'm going to create one called test mode, and I'll make it true false, and I'm going to set it to false. And then I create another one called test row count. And then I'm going to make this one a decimal. And what I'm going to do is set it to 10. And I click OK. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new blank query. And inside that blank query, all I'm going to do is paste the query that I've created. And what you'll see, I'm using my server parameters. I'm doing a little M here. I said, if it's test rows, only show the first however many rows I put in my case, 10. So if it's true, only show 10 rows. Otherwise, return the entire table. So you can see it's returning lots of data right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch this from false to true and watch what's going to happen. It only returned 10 rows. If I go here and switch this, it's only going to return 20 rows. Now I can work against a smaller data set while I'm developing, then turn test mode off before the full refresh. There is one important nuance. You need to pay attention to query folding and where the row reduction actually happens. If Power Query pulls the entire data set across the network and only then keeps 20 rows or 10 rows, you didn't really save much. The goal is to push that reduction back to the source whenever the connector and transformation supports it. This is a small pattern, but on a large data set, it can save a lot of time waiting. Coming in at number 6, the measure table. So in this model, I have measures spread across 2 tables. I have them on the guest satisfaction table, and I have them on my booking table. So let's go back here. Let's go to modeling, and we're going to do a new table. And I'm going to call this measures equal data table. And I'm going to say placeholder. I'm going to make it an integer. And then inside of there, I'm going to do 1, 1. I messed up right here, integer, comma. So this creates my table. Now I can go to my model view and I can start moving my measures. And so I can go here and I can say change this to measure. I hide this column Easy. There we go. And now I can move all my measures to this table. Nothing was wrong with having all my measures spread across the table. Now they're all in one location. And if you start getting too many measures in that table, you can use display folders for revenue, for occupancy, for different things. Some developers also prefer keeping measures within the related fact table. And that's a good thing. This does not make the model faster, but a clean model is a whole lot easier to what? Maintain. We're getting to the good stuff. Bulk editing in the model view. Look at this. I have several measures. Room revenue, total revenue previous year. Now I could choose room revenue and I can go to format and then change it one at a time. But I can also do a multi-select because I know these are all currencies. And I can say currency and set my decimal place. And now if I select them individually, you can see that the formatting is applied. Now what I can also do, check this out. I'll go here and say select all measures, right? All my measures are selected and I'm gonna go to general and I'm gonna move all of them to my measure table. You can use this for other compatible properties beyond formatting, like display folders, summarizations, and other metadata. This can save a ridiculous number of clicks. Coming in at number 4 is the ability to use TMDL to stop rebuilding the same semantic model logic over and over again. Take a look at this. Here's my model. And I have measures like ADR, total revenue, and RevPAR. And you can see I've already started building in some time intelligence. And you'll have to repeat building that logic over and over and over again. But take a look at this. Let me go over to my TMDL view and I'm going to paste in some code. And so you can see I'm creating a calculation group. One thing you got to do before you do this is you need to go over to the model view and you need to discourage implicit measures. So we're going to discourage implicit measures. And now you have this chunk of code. Now watch this when I apply this and I need to refresh. So my calculation group gets all the information. So now instead of doing this over and over again, watch, I'll get rid of this. I'll add my calculation group to the column. That's okay. No fret. And then look, I have all the changes automatically built in. Think about it. I don't have to write that code over and over again. If I get rid of this and say, look, let's just use this for bookings, it automatically works for bookings or any other measure in my model. You still need to check the table names, column references, dependencies, and formats before applying anything. But the next model doesn't have to start from 0. You can keep reusing the TMDL starter blocks for the model objects you create over and over and over again. Review them, share them, and apply them where they make sense. All right, some of you may laugh at number 3, and that's Control G in Power Query. Hear me out. So go to transform, and let's say you have this very large table like booking right here. And you can see there's lots of columns in booking. And I can go search for whatever column I'm trying to get to. But guess what? How many of you have done this? Control G, there's the columns. I want to go to stay date. I click OK. It automatically brings me to that column. Control G, I want to go to guest key. It automatically brings me to that column. I want to find a column buried somewhere in the middle. I can keep scrolling until I eventually find it, or I can just press Control G and there it goes. Coming in at number 2 is field parameters. Field parameters let the person using the report dynamically change which dimensions or measures appear in a visual. Check this out. I have a clustered bar chart and you can see I have total revenue by property name, but I want my users to switch this by region, property type, and booking channel. I could build 4 visuals and try to fit them all on the page, or I can go to modeling. I can choose new field parameter. And then what I can do is I will choose, let me see, property name, booking channels, choose channel name. Let's get one more in here, region. Search for region. Where's region at? There we go. And I'm going to choose region. Click create. It's going to add that as a slicer. It's oh so small. We'll do a quick format of this. And so what I'm going to do is go here, and instead of using property name, I should have gave my parameter a better name. I'm going to drop it right there. And now what I can do is choose property name, choose channel, choose region, but it doesn't stop there. I can also go back to modeling and I can choose a new field parameter. I'm going to give this one a better name. And then what I'm going to do is go to my measure table because everything is in the right place. Bookings, occupancy rate, total revenue, any of the measures I want to add, right? Click create. And then instead of using total revenue, drop that right there. And now watch this. The entire thing is completely dynamic. Now the user can change both the category and the calculation. I'm going to say it. This is insane amazing. Drum roll, please. Coming in at number 1, Control Shift L. Inside TMDL view or the DAX formula editor. So if we go here and do a quick search, you can see I have a few measures that are prefixed with AVG, and I want to rename them to average. So I just so happen to have a script on my clipboard of all three of them. Watch this. I'm going to double click here. I'm going to do Control-Shift-L. It highlights them all and it changes them all. And then I say apply. And now if I look for average, all the abbreviations for all four measures went from AVG to average. So bananas. You do need to pay attention to the exact text you select. If that text appears inside names you did not intend to change, Power BI is going to select those for you. So be careful. And there's definitely someone who thinks one of these should not have made the list at all. But based on practical value, surprise, and how often I would actually use each one, that's my order. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the cube.